The effects of the size of a stimulus on memory retrieval using a negative priming task. Cognition is an important concept that humans use to problem solve, self-regulate, and perceive everyday situations. Most cognitive processes are wired to help us, but some cognitive tools cause us to misperceive our reality. Today, I wanted to talk about a prospective experiment on how the size of a stimulus affects memory retrieval. What is negative priming? In this memory retrieval process, the object that was made to be ignored will take more time to recognize and will be more likely to be selected incorrectly than a non-ignored object. Negative priming involves two cognitive processes: inhibition and memory retrieval. There are three types of negative priming: identity, spatial, and temporal. Kahan and researchers discovered temporal negative priming, which involves the effect of an object's time of reappearance after being previously ignored. Negative priming is associated with three regions in the brain: the middle frontal gyrus, left superior temporal gyrus, and the anterior cingulate gyrus. Inhibition and memory retrieval are two cognitive processes associated with negative priming. The inhibition tasks are typically used as an assessment of negative priming, such as the Stroop task. I was curious in discovering other forms of negative priming. If the identity of an object or its relative time of appearance affected participants' ability to recall that object, how would size of a stimulus? Will the size of a target stimulus make it more difficult or more easier to recognize in succeeding trials? Are there any other types of negative priming? I believe that the bigger the size of an object, the more likely it will be recognized compared to a smaller stimulus. There were 137 participants selected for this experiment from an experiential cognitive psychology course at UNF. This experiment utilizes a traditional within-subject block design. The four blocks are the practice block, a non-negative priming block, and a negative priming block with a small stimulus, and a negative priming block with a large stimulus. All the non-practice blocks utilize a prime-probe organization, where there is a specific succession in trials aimed to mimic the effects of negative priming. The independent variable of this experiment is the size of the ignored object, and its two levels are smaller stimulus and larger stimulus. The dependent variable of this experiment is the negative priming effect, operationalized into response times for each probe trial. These variables were manipulated within subjects. This negative priming task involves minimal materials. The two important documents each participant will receive is an informed consent agreement participants must read through and sign, an instruction sheet with a detailed description of the method and research purpose, and a computer. For the procedure, in each block, participants will complete two succeeding trials known as a prime-probe pair. Participants will be in front of a computer screen that has four boxes, one with an X and an O. In the first trial, we'll have participants finding the box with the O and ignoring the box with the X. In the second trial, participants will find the X that was previously ignored in the prime trial. I am expecting a significant main effect for the size of a stimulus, so I will use a one-way ANOVA to assess that data. Since I will be expecting to conduct post hoc tests, I will use the Bonferroni method. I had 137 participants with 5 separate groups, so my degrees of freedom are 4, 132, and my chosen p-value to test for significance is 0.05. As you can see from my predicted results, participants' responses in the negative priming with a large stimulus condition would be the fastest compared to the negative priming with a small stimulus condition and the non-negative priming condition. In future studies, researchers should work to diversify their samples through recruiting participants not just from academic institutions. Researchers should also assess differences across cultures, genders, and races with the negative priming effect. Overall, if my study were to be supported, we can infer a new form of negative priming involving the size of an object. Larger stimuli would be more likely recognized at a faster response time than a smaller stimulus. We could apply these principles to schools, work, and other educational fields to help individuals manage stress, be able to cognitively juggle tasks of everyday living, be able to retain information adequately, and to prioritize what is important to them. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Have a wonderful day.